Way, right, okay, we should be live. So, hello to everyone who might be tuning in now. Hopefully it's all appearing on YouTube. We always have like a weekly thing of where YouTube's actually streaming or not, but according to everything, it's live. So good news! Hello everyone, I'm Captain Jack. Welcome to Trek Central Live. This week we're discussing Star Trek Picard, Episode 4, Absolute Candor. And I can hear myself twice. It was an absolutely good episode is what I can say. Hey, I got one pun in. Oh, hey. Tonight I am joined by Commander Brie and Mr. Ketwolski as well. Guys, how you doing?
Good.
Fantastic.
So we're going to jump in straight to the discussion point. Everyone, feel free to chat, tell us your opinions, and we'll read some of the comments as we go. Tonight we're just going to jump straight into the discussion of Episode 4. It was a very, very interesting episode, I'll say, and lots of discussion around this one, whether it be the lore or relative subjects of like how ships work, etc. So we're going to jump straight in. Nick, would you like to take it away of your instant thoughts in Episode 4 while I share everything out quickly?
Sure, yeah. I would say, hopefully everybody can hear me. My thoughts were that this is probably, it's really vying for the #1 spot for the season so far. I know we're only 4 episodes in. We still have 6 more episodes to go, so that may change. Right now, Episode 1 is my top episode, I think just because of the sheer exciting shock value of that episode. But this one really inched itself like right into that #2, almost #1 spot. I thought it was so well done. I really, really enjoyed the character dialogue of the crew of La Serena and also their interactions, and then obviously the backstory of Eleanor and the exciting, fight sequence towards the end. And I liked how it felt kind of like a more traditional way mission type thing, and it felt very true to form for Star Trek in some regards. And I loved it. This was really, like I said, probably my top, if not close to my top episode. So.
Very nice. People already said like Star Trek Picard is #1. Stop there. The show's already #1. So people feel free to share your comments and stuff on the episode as we go through the stream. We'll be checking back to the chat throughout, our like hourly discussion and coming to your questions as well. So if you have any questions on the episode, feel free to ask. We'll try and answer them based on our lore and stuff like that. But I'm gonna jump to Brie. How did you find this episode?
So I like that you also said that it was vying for your #1 spot, because I actually think this one is now the best episode for me. I was putting off, I know last time we talked, I was like, oh, this episode is so close to being #1, but the first episode, I really think this one beat the first episode for me. There was just so much that I was waiting for that finally happened in that episode, and it was satisfying to watch. Everything was really good. There wasn't the 6-second action scene was the most just top tier. It's all I needed as a D&D player. I was just like, oh wow, that's a level 20 monk. 6 seconds, he killed 3 people, like multi-attack. Got it. Like Eleanor is so powerful. I love it. But I like that they didn't overdo that scene. So 6 seconds is all we needed.
And also we have the combat scene of the ship as well. And I think a lot of I know myself, because obviously I keep talking about starships every live streaming video we do. And I was like, oh, we finally got a good ship combat thing. I do feel the need to do my weekly mention of my favourite starship in the entire existence at the minute. Does anybody else feel like the opening of the episode where they showed the colony and obviously the planet thing and you see the disco shuttles flying around? Missed opportunity for the Verity there. I know they don't maybe want to confuse people, but come on now. We could have just had a nice gentle fly, but I was sat in bed thinking about that going, missed opportunity.
I agree with you there. There was definitely an opportunity for them to show a quick digital flyby. I personally think, I don't know why, it just, when I saw the opening shot of Vashti and they had all of these Discovery shuttles flying around, it made me think like they intentionally copy and pasted more of them in the shot than to be, just to bother people now. I don't know if it's like intentionally like jabbing back, like we're using these shuttles.
We made them,
like,
we'll use them.
Yeah, we made it like they were just there, like some of them were just sitting there, and I was like, oh, okay, you guys are just putting them in there for
thinking about that scene now. It's almost like I feel like that is the opening shot is a missed opportunity. Wait, don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on it, I do like it. However, even if you don't have to include a Verity, because I think for the overall audience, the only reason we know the Verity is thanks to obviously Una McCormack's new book, The Last Best Hope. If no one's read that, by the way, give it a read. We've got a review coming out tomorrow. And also the Countdown comic as well, which obviously features a Verity heavily and kind of the plot revolves around it. So I feel like if they included it in Picard, it might have been a little lost because it's not mentioned yet what it actually is. So even so, I still feel like that opening shot, we could have maybe seen the was it the Wellenberg class transport ships? I forget the name off the top of my head. There we go. They could have seen a couple of them in orbit, etc. Still ferrying colonists around. Picard in the episode does mention it, but more are on their way. So I feel like the Discovery shuttles just is a bit odd there, not just because they are Discovery shuttles, but the VFX could have been different there. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean there. So here's my theory as to why no Verity, and this is just me
just crushing my dreams
on the side of my butt.
That's what I was gonna say. They're doing it for you, Jack.
Yeah, it was
the only reason
they saw your podcast and then they removed it. But I think that they're not doing Verity just because I think they're going to do Enterprise. I think they're going to do the Enterprise F, which is the same class of vessel.
I'm happy with that.
And I think that's why. I think they're trying not to, because if they put it in there, people would have probably, if they didn't do an established shot of the Verity, everyone and their mother's going to then say, well, what's going on with the Enterprise? Where's the Enterprise?
Yeah.
And then B, the other thing is if they bring the Enterprise in later and it's the same class of vessel, it might confuse the general audience.
Yeah, that is true.
What the heck is going on?
Because in the Next Generation, we think about that. In the Next Generation, we only ever saw one Galaxy class as a primary ship, apart from the Yamato and other things like that. So it's like they don't want to confuse people, because obviously the Odysseys are identical. It's like having two sovereigns. You get confused, like, is that the Enterprise E or not? For the casual viewer, right, which is obviously they're trying to capture new audiences anyway with Picard, you're right, it could confuse people. It's like, well, hang on a minute, didn't that ship already appear? So if they do bring in the Enterprise F, that's a substitute for not showing the Verity. I'm just saying, CBS, just saying. I would be happy with that one. Christmas cards will be sent to the office.
They're back on. Yeah.
But my other favourite part of this episode as well had to be, as you mentioned, Brie, the moments on the last arena as well. Fantastic. I love Rios. I still feel like we're getting tidbits of his character, yet there's still tons of mysteries revolving at. And it's good, like, the whole plot isn't being given away in just one episode. Like, Rios' mystery was introduced last episode, in episode 3. Therefore, it's not been revealed immediately and solved in episode 4. It's still going on. We're learning more about it. Now he has a hospitality program. I love the second use of the F-bomb when he walks in and says, I hate that effing hospitality program. And I feel like Picard almost agreed with him in a way, because that program was a little bit creepy to a degree.
Yeah.
It feels like one of those creepy waiters you get at a restaurant sometimes. It hangs over your shoulder.
It reminded me, I'm trying to think of what it reminded me of. It was very it'll come to me in a little bit what it reminded me of, but it hit the nail on the head for something else, and I just now I can't pinpoint it.
Yeah, the hospitality program was definitely strange, but I like the fact that every program is very clearly distinctively different than the other ones, and they all have very specific personalities and names, which is also very exciting and raises a lot of questions as to what the hell Rios is doing on the ship when nobody's around, but that's okay. I agree with you that we're still kind of gathering more plot points about Rios. I made the comment in my review video that I think that the different programs actually represent parts of Rios's kind of overall personality, and that they're different parts of him. And the apathetic, the hospitality one, the medical one, the excited youth of the navigational one, and all of these different things kind of represent parts of him. And I think we're going to learn more about him through those characters, which would be really fun and exciting, I think, to see on screen.
That is interesting. I like Emmett as well, like the tactical one. It's almost like I just love the sort of interaction between Rios and Emmett. It's like you could fire back at any point. It's like it's almost like when you do games with your friends. It's kind of like the vibe I was getting. I loved it in general. It was that whole battle sequence as well with the antique bird of prey, and I love how that was substituted there as like it is an antique, and quite frankly, it is an antique by this point. That ship was last seen in the original series era, or the TMP era, however people like to call it. So it's like, that's a very old ship. But that whole fight sequence is good. I guess we should also talk about the big reveal as well, which is obviously Jerry Ryan's back as 7 of 9. I didn't actually notice her name in the credits. I wasn't paying attention at that point, because at this point of episode 4, I always just, don't look at the credits or the intro massively at that point, because I've seen everything at that point. So I kind of knew she'd turn up towards the end, because there was like, oh, whoever that person is, and you think, oh, it's definitely going to be Jerry Ryan, especially when you've sat and analysed trailers and such. Right. I felt like for the average viewer it's going to be a surprise, but for us who sit here and go over every frame sometimes, it's it was a...
I was like, using he, him is not tricking me. I know that's 7. You cannot confuse me. There is no surprise here. Get her on the ship right this second so I can cry, please.
I did
It was
love
like over the top. They were like, that man in his ship
and I was
doing
like,
a great
okay,
job for a man flying it. And I'm like, all right, okay, we got it. Yeah, he himself and he is a great pilot. It's like, all right, you're selling it. I'm sold.
One thing I liked as well is as Seven beamed on, and thanks to Katie on Twitter who pointed this out, she might be in the stream, thank you very much, and also Jeff Russo for commenting on this as well, is as Seven beams on board, you can actually hear parts of the Voyager theme only for a couple of seconds. And if you listen to the official soundtrack, that's track 24, Mystery Ship, towards around about 140 or 240, I believe. You'll have to check the tweet later. You can hear the Voyager little theme there. It's fantastic. Just those little details which, go an extra way to just home it, and I love it. Hearing a Voyager theme, in 2020, even that small amount, I love it. Especially because it's Voyager's 25th anniversary this year as well. It's like, love it. I love those little things.
Yeah, it was great. I can't wait. Obviously, next episode is going to be her episode, and I can't wait to see what she's been up to. I have still so many questions. I know we got to get into this episode, but we got a lot of background as to what the hell is going on in the Beta Quadrant with the Romulans, with this rebirth movement and these warlords and criminals. And then they mentioned that the Fenris Rangers are supposed to be kind of keeping the law of the land and all this stuff. And what the heck they are and how she got involved with them is obviously, the questions are abound, which hopefully we get all of that background. I think we will probably get all of that background
definitely
in the next episode for sure.
So thank you to Amir for donating $5 there. And if they say, what if it ends up as one of those self-fulfilling prophecies caused by the Zat-Vash themselves and the Nest are actually the Borg? This could be an interesting one. I've seen a lot of talk about Romulans creating Borg. I think we discussed that on episode 2, was it? Yeah, we discussed on episode 2, that whole idea of, the Zat-Vash created the Borg and now they're trying to get rid of synthetics so they don't do a repeat accident. It's a very interesting theory. I think we might talk about it deeper in a separate either live stream or video at some point, but thanks for the donation there. It's definitely a good point. What I also wanted to bring up as well, what you just mentioned there, Nick, we're on episode 4 now. We're still getting a ton of world building as well. The mention of Romulan rebirth movement. We saw in episode 1 with the, obviously, the Romulan Borg cube, however you want to call it. There's also a unique symbol there. We're seeing a lot of Romulan world building at the minute, which is good because season 1 is focused on the Romulans. And I'm seeing a lot of Trekkies really appreciate that as well, as, it's good to have this world building for species, especially when they've had such a massive event such as the supernova happen to them. There's a ton of world building going on and I like it, and hopefully this is going to get tied up nicely. We'll discuss more about episode 5 towards the end of the stream because there's a lot to speculate on that for good reasons. But I want to sort of home it back in a minute. What did everyone think about the scene between young Eleanor and Picard? I thought that was a very, very good scene there and I loved it.
It was so cute. It was adorable. I actually was really happy to see how he had evolved, how Picard had evolved from. I know people were passing around that video of, I forget what episode, where Picard had to hang out with the little kids in the turbo lift, and then one of them gives him a flower afterwards and hugs him, and he's like really not about it. But then Eleanor in the episode runs up and hugs him, and he doesn't have that same reaction. So just in that tiny little bit, you can see how he's evolved, and just the relationship between the two. As much as he always in Next Gen was like, I don't like kids, it's really nice to see him have this relationship with somebody who is a child and it be genuine and it didn't seem forced at all. It was like, wow, this is a genuine relationship and it's adorable.
Yeah, I personally, I agree with everything you're saying, Brie. I personally loved it. I thought it was weird that I saw some complaints about Picard doesn't like kids. Why is he interested in this kid? But I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, did you not even watch the scene where the nun, she clearly says, with the
he doesn't like
gender, that he doesn't like children. She says it, and he's like, I agree, and also I like you. These two things exist at the same time. It's almost as if characters can have a bit more complexity to them than just black and white.
It's almost like there's nuance there.
And this was explained in Generations as well, wasn't it? The Generations, the feature film. The reason why Picard now, cares for children is evidently, it's explained in Generations because unfortunately Picard's family, his brother and his nephew, tragically die in a house fire on Chateau Picard, which is or around the area. I think the details are a bit loose on that one. So Picard's extended family are dead, so therefore the line of Picard isn't going to continue. And he's kind of reached that stage in his life where it's unlikely he will have had or is going to have kids, especially now now. So therefore,
Right.
he kind of relaxed his stance on kids in those years, because originally he didn't think he'd have to continue the line once Robert had his son Rene, and you see that in Generations as well. So now we see Picard a different and changed man, and this is how the evolution of the character's gone on. Even before we got to Picard, which 20 years later, we see the evolution between 7 seasons of Next Gen, then Generations, the movie, which is set like 6 months after the ending of Next Gen, I think. Someone has to fact check me on that one. But you see there, the evolution's already begun, and that's how he likes kids. And I thought it's a beautiful stepping stone in a way. How did you guys think about that?
Not to mention the fact that he's also, people are referencing like how he was in like Next Gen, the series. But if you look at where he was at the end of Nemesis, 2 of his closest friends have gone off to get married and have a child of their own.
Yeah.
And one of his other closest friends has just died. He also has just got off the fight sequence of trying to save someone who was a clone of him, but a much younger version of him, who was a child and was, brutalized on Remus and the dilithium mines on Remus. And all of these different things affected him, I think, in a lot of ways. And I don't think people understand, like, over time, I think he just softened up to the idea of some children. And this is just a kid. It's not like he was running the Picard orphanage out of the video. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, it was just one kid that he clearly connected with because he felt responsible for what was going on, feeling a responsibility, for what was going on with the Romulans, and B, all of those other character changes that happened to him from Nemesis on. I don't know. It's just, it's like, people just want it to be they want to order the exact same meal every time they go to the restaurant. They don't want it to be any different.
The evolution of the character is like plain and simple in a way, like you just mentioned as well. It comes down to another thing. I see a lot of discussion online at the minute about the whole, Raffi calling Picard Jael. Now, we first saw this in the Countdown comic in around about November 2019, the first issue. So we were already aware of that, and it wasn't a big deal then. And I think the way to look at that is, as you mentioned there, at the end of Nemesis, 2 of his best friends, his first officer and counselor, have just gone off to start their own life, they're away from him. On the Enterprise, then you've got Worf, LaForge, and Crusher. Well, we know as of 2381, Picard leaves the Enterprise anyway, so he's taken out of his family, essentially. The crew are his family. So therefore, it does make sense that he'd welcome other people into his life, maybe with, like, opener arms, I guess that's a way, or, wider arms, maybe, than he previously did. Because obviously it took him a long time to form those friendships in Next. I mean, hell, it took him 7 years, because only at the very end of Next Gen did he sit down and play bloody poker with them. So it's like,
right.
So you can see why
his character is growing.
His reaction in friendship with Raffi is much more personal based, because he probably allowed that to move on. Realistically, I was thinking as we was having this discussion, Picard's evolution of a character could be one of the greatest on screen and across television and movies when you think about it. You've gone from a very plain stone-faced man to this very open and warming man. And, towards, the end of the series, or not the end, as we are in his late stage of life there. Thank you to Chase Rux, who just donated there. Do you agree with the foul language he says? Personally, I mean, we can all give our opinions on this. Personally, I don't really mind. I'm of a mindset of it's not super excessive, it doesn't really bother me. One F-word really isn't going to ruin a series for me. Nick, what do you think about the foul language thing in Star Trek?
I would say that this is... I don't know how the censorships work in other countries, but in the United States, censorship and ratings are very bizarre, where in every season iteration of Star Trek, there has been just brutal violence. There's been implied and very explicit sexual assault. There's been nonstop explosions, decapitations, people's bodies exploding, all of this violence, genocide, all of these very serious slavery, all of these very serious things. And everyone's cool with it. Nobody's got a problem with it, but one F-bomb gets dropped and now it's not for my children. And it's very, I don't know, it's very bizarre to me, where people are taken aback by the foul language. And I think that has to do with how we're kind of conditioned a little bit through our own censorship through media in the United States, where it's okay for certain things to occur, like decapitations, but if a woman wants to show a single nipple, then it's rated R, NC-17, and it's like, this is very weird. It's a very weird thing to kind of have that weird imbalance almost of people's kind of perception of what's okay and what's not okay. So I'm fine with it. All that to say is I'm fine with it. To me, it's one of the people are focusing on Rios dropping the F-bomb. Friggin' Eleanor cut some dude's head off.
Exactly.
And you saw the cut in the blood. But whatever.
Yeah.
It's green blood, so it's fine. It's green blood. So
at least they kept canon with the blood, though. Well, hey.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's very strange.
Brie, what did you think about the language, if you had an opinion on it?
I honestly don't care, but again, you guys know I'm a veteran and I was a sailor, and there's a reason they say cussing like a sailor. So to me, I don't even bat an eye because I've just not. That is so does not even faze me. A really good point that people are so focused on a word, but are completely ignoring like the legitimate violence. Episode 1, someone gets vaporized into little bits and like 7 people die. Episode 2, there was like the sex-y scenes. Like, I mean, people, I see some complaints about that, but the majority of the complaints I'm seeing are the language, but they're just glossing over all the other stuff. And so that's why I'm like,
For me, it's like, I don't know if it's because I'm British and it's like maybe a bit different over here, but swearing is like a natural like form of life over here. I mean, I don't obviously do it on TC stuff, but usually my own content, when we're recording like gaming videos, it just doesn't stop sometimes. It's kind of like a natural thing, especially if you're Scottish. Like, I have a lot of Scottish friends, and it's very natural for them to like swear everything. Carlos, thank you for the quick donation, by the way. Greatly appreciate it, man. Thank you to everyone who's supporting the Track Central stream, by the way. I think Brie's signal's unfortunately a bit cut out there. We might get her back in a minute. Nick, are you still there?
Yeah, I think we might have lost her, but that's okay.
That's all right.
Yeah, I can't hear you very well.
Oh, maybe reconnect if that one's. I might have. Okay. Someone watching chat. How are we doing? Not to mention non-convenience and disprove the idea of swear. So yeah, I think there's definitely a discussion on there. Michael Chabon, the series showrunner, actually did a big post about swearing in Star Trek as well. So I think he posted that on his Instagram or something. But you can find it on Twitter. We posted it on there, and he answered a lot of questions people were asking. And he's the showrunner for season 1, and he's also the writer for season 1 as well, along with Kirsten Beer and a few others. So go check it out. It's a good idea to get in the mind of people there. So it's a good idea. Dr. Agnes Jurati is a shady character. Yeah, Nick, if you notice that, a lot of people saying like she's up to something at the minute.
Yeah, I think that I don't think she's shady. I think that she's like a ticking time bomb. Mm-hmm. I don't think that she's aware of the fact that she is not okay. I think that there's something there, and I actually thought about this the other day after I've been talking to people about this throughout the week.
Sorry, 2 seconds. Okay, Brie, do you just want to reconnect quickly? Your webcam's frozen.
Oh, it is. Sorry.
That's right.
How do I just leave and come back?
Just leave and just pop back in instantly.
Okay.
Now we've got Big Nick across 2 screens. There we go.
Yeah, no, here I am. So, yeah, I was saying is what we saw, and I don't think a lot of people like this, but we did see this demonstrated in Discovery.
There we go.
Which was...
Can you hear me?
We got you back.
We're good, yeah.
I got you here.
Okay, cool. Lost connection.
So we saw this a bit in Discovery where Sarek and Michael Burnham could talk telepathically over great distances. And they've explored the idea that mind melding and that kind of type of connection could bridge some kind of gap that we haven't really explored too much within Star Trek. So I'm wondering if they're going to be doing something like that where Commodore Oh maybe not being able to physically like control her like a mind control thing, but being able to watch what's happening through her mind in some way where she's kind of tapped into that and is kind of like able to access what she's seeing or thinking or feeling, to try to keep an inside look as to what's going on with Picard and the whole journey. Why she's doing that, why Commodore O has done that, I don't quite know, because she already knows where they're headed, because she already knows about the mission that, Narek and his sister are on. So I don't quite know what her plan is, but I think that that's what they're kind of alluding to, is that there's some kind of long-distance telepathic connection, which we saw in Discovery. That's what I think.
There's definitely something going on with Jurati, I think. A lot of people discussing it. It's like a hot, fan topic at the minute. I love when a series reaches that, where people start, discussing the ins and outs of what possibly could happen. She definitely sees a lot of excitement for the series. People are loving it. So hopefully she's not a sleeper. I like Jurati so far. A lot of people are commenting like, it's almost like a Tilly character, but introduced correctly in a way. It's one that's more like, pleasant to the viewers. Not hating on Tilly or anything like that. It's more and welcoming to the view, I guess. So originally, I didn't bond with Tilly very well in Discovery. I thought her character was a bit obnoxious the way it was written. However, with Jurati, it's like an instant click. Yes, I like this character. So hopefully nothing bad happens to us. I like her, so.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I do.
I mean, I think it would be... while we all kind of suspected already, it would be good plot development for it to be the case. And I feel like they are so readily hinting at it, or it could just be my mind, because the second that I saw Dr. Jesus, I'm sorry, I'm still in school mind right now. Commodore Oh, as soon as I saw her show up behind, I was like, boom, like and that was the moment that I was convinced. But ever since then, in my head, I'm just like, oh, this could be a hint at that, or that could be a hint at that. And like in episode 4, when she went on the bridge, this is like a theater lighting kind of thing, but they lit her from underneath, which is normally reserved for suspense and villains. And I thought it was very interesting that they lit her from underneath when she was on the bridge. But again, that could just be my theory brain going crazy. But then also, when someone was like, you know, he's doing a detour, she went, who, Picard? And like piqued her interest. And then the third time that it really caught my attention was that the Qowat Malat, they're the primary enemy of the Tal Shiar. They said Tal Shiar, it flashed to her and it showed her eyebrows raise a little bit. And I was just like, these are just little tiny hints to me that they might be setting up for that. And so that's why, like, even like I said, the second that Commodore O showed up behind her, I was like sitting there messaging Dom, like, oh no, like she's about to be, it's the scene from the trailer where she gets a mind meld. Like, I just guarantee it. But it didn't happen. So that's when we were like, ooh, maybe it happens later and it's a flashback and it shows why it is that she does something that isn't, you know, her character.
No, I agree. I think you're right to say, like, I think that they're doing a couple of throwaways to her as a way to kind of lay out the seeds of her actions, because I think they're going to do several different flashback cuts of whenever she finally does turn, they're going to be like, yeah, and then she was doing this or that, or like she said this line that was kind of suspect because it was actually not really her asking that, it was actually kind of influencing her questioning or something like that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of merit to what you're saying there, for sure. I'm excited to see how that gets unfolded.
I am too.
Definitely.
Before we find out. So.
Carlos, thank you for quick donation. He says Scottish and love swearing. Exactly, you can't do it. And also, has red matter been retconned? Good question, actually. The question about red matter I've seen flying around the Trek community as of late. We've got details on the Romulan supernova, but no exact things yet. It's almost as if they're staying a bit, you know, clear of it in a way, because through, like, even in the short trek Children of Mars, Children of Mars, sorry, we do actually hear the school class having a lesson about supernova explosions and such. However, there's been no mention of red matter, so I think we can presume it's still technically canon. In the 2009 Star Trek film, during Spock's flashback scene, we see him, you know, prepping the jellyfish and then stopping the supernova. I think that's still personally canon myself, but obviously then that creates the Kelvin timeline that goes on from there. So I'd say them building the jellyfish. I think the details might be a little bit loose, but definitely Spock going off and using red matter to create the black hole to stop the supernova is definitely canon. It's just for some reason they're not exploring it yet. And I don't think it's entirely needed for the story at the moment. Nick, what do you think about that?
I think that they are, with all of the drama surrounding the concept of is discovery in the Kelvin universe and licensing issues and everything looks too Kelvin and all this other stuff, I think that they are staying as far away from being associated with the Kelvin universe as they possibly can. I think that they're using the Romulus explosion, because that did happen, you know, in time in canon. I think they're using that to launch their story, which is obviously what they're doing. I think beyond that, I think they're going to want to keep everything as far away from that as possible, just to avoid people saying, it's Kelvin and I hate those movies and on and on and on. So I think that I think that by not acknowledging it, it doesn't, you know, decanonize it or anything like that or cause any issues. I think it's just has nothing to do with this part of the story. Like what we're dealing with has nothing really to do with that. Obviously the supernova was stopped and we know how it was stopped, and presumably they know how it was stopped, and they know that Spock went missing after that incident. And I don't think we really need to talk about it because it's just going to invite a bunch of craziness. And I think they're doing the right thing by staying away.
I think maybe at a later date is something that could be discussed, but for the minute, while we're still in like the foundations of the whole Picard series, I mean, if we are doing 3 seasons, it's probably best to stay away from it. I mean, maybe in season 2, if it needs to be touched upon, it needs to be touched upon, or it can be touched upon in auxiliary media, such as comics and books and such. Chase, thank you for a quick donation there. What do you think the chances Lore is actually behind the building of the twins? Changed appearance to Maddox Ketwolski rocks, by the way. Big fan. There you go, Nick. That's a good question. Oh, a lot of people have been commenting about lore since episode 1, you know, where he actually is, because we know he's dismantled the last thing we saw in Descent back in the Next Generation. It's a long time ago now. So him being involved in the creation of the twins could be very interesting. I mean, we'll talk about episode 5 in a bit and whose character will be appearing in that one. But yeah, it's, I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on the whole lore sort of idea?
I've been saying that since day one. I think that lore for sure is absolutely going to be involved in some way. There's a reason why they showed B4 in the crate and made no reference to lore. I don't think it's just because they forgot. And the reason I say that, people say, well, how do you know that they haven't forgot? Is because the creators have talked about lore in interviews, and even Brent Spiner talked about lore in interviews for the show. So clearly there was discussions about it. They are remembering it, and I think that that's going to come up later for sure. I think that's going to be a big twist.
The attention to detail the writers have paid so far, they've definitely not forgotten about it. Because you see, you've got like Kirsten Beer and Michael Chabon, the amount of references and stuff that has been chucked into Picard so far and delicately handled, I guess is the best word to use. They've definitely not forgotten about it. I think there's a purpose reason they've not mentioned it so far, and it could mention it at a later date. I mean, we still have 6 episodes to go. Episode 5 is next week, so there's a lot to play with.
And yeah, no, I definitely think, I agree. I think he's going to show up, but as for him being, I said this before, I'm sure it'll like right now. I don't want Lore to be the parents of the twins, but I told Ket last time we did the live stream, that'll probably change when it actually happens. But I do want to see Lore, and I think they will bring him there, like into the show. But to be the father of the twins, after all, that I'm unsure about, and I don't know. I'm sure I'll like it, but right now I don't want that to be the case.
Yeah, that's going to be... I think it's a bigger discussion for another video maybe about lore. But Mia, thank you for the donation there. Picard, Maldo, Sark, he should know Discovery. Yeah, I think that's one little tidbit of information you can just take with a pinch of salt, to be honest, because it's... I know a lot of people are commenting at the minute about continuity errors and stuff like that. The Next Generation actually had about 2 to 3 books, I believe, written on its own continuity errors. So I think little tidbits of things where it doesn't, line up completely straight. It's not the end of the world, personally, in my own sort of like headcanon, I guess you could call it. So little tidbits of information, nothing to worry about. Anyway, chaps, I want to speak about Eleanor a minute, as obviously the brand new character into this one. I am loving Evan Evergore's performance, and obviously shout out to Ian Nunney, who played young Eleanor as well. Fantastic actor. Hopefully he, comes back to Trek at a later point in life. It'd be great to see him in maybe a future Star Trek series. But yeah, Evan Evergore's Eleanor. Very interesting character. I love the little introduction as well. And it was really fun. Guys, what did you think about Eleanor?
Oh, I love him. I love him so much. I've already said this so many times. Everyone's all fangirling over him, but no, I really like the character design as well. I don't want to say that I haven't seen a character that was raised in a area that he doesn't belong and picks up that, but I like the way they did this one. I think it's a little bit more unique than the other stories that have been told similarly. And I like the way that they put it together. I think he's an absolute badass, and I love that. Like I said before, just kills 3 people in like less than 6 seconds flat. Don't mess with him. The character is amazing. I am so excited.
Yeah, I'm indifferent towards Eleanor right now, and the only reason I say that, I loved his fight scene. I think he is a badass. Clearly, he's very well trained, but I think we're just at the point now, because we've introduced him, and they've done this, I think up to this point where they introduce a character and it's like, okay, that's that character, but I haven't really connected with that character. Like last episode, we met Rios, but I was like, all right, well, that's Rios. He's kind of cool. He's got the cigar. He looked, he's all crazy swashbuckler. But this episode, I felt like we connected with him a little bit more, and I'm looking forward to continuing to connect with Eleanor and see how his relationship with Picard kind of continues to evolve. Because what I thought was probably the most powerful scene of this whole episode was actually right as Eleanor and Picard beam back to La Serena, and he's like, he scolds him, like, what are you doing? Don't you kill anybody unless I tell you to do. And it was a bit uncharacteristic of Picard in some ways, but it was a very interesting insight into his relationship to someone who he considers kind of like, him being a father figure to him, but also how their relationship is kind of, going to continue to grow in the episode. Because later on, like in the same episode, like he nodded to Eleanor to get his Legolas sword ready to strike down whoever it was they were beaming on board the ship, and he was kind of right there with him. So I am curious and excited to see that relationship building. That's why I say I'm a little indifferent towards it because we haven't gotten to know him yet, but I'm excited to see. I can't wait to see him hanging out on Casino Planet in episode 5.
The episode 5 teaser is already like, ooh, like little clip.
Yeah, I was gonna, based on all the teasers, part of me thinks he's not going to end up going down onto the planet with them. I think he's going to end up staying back on the ship.
Don't spoil the fun, Brie. Okay.
I want him to because he's so pure. In the little clip where you posted where he was like, "I don't get one," I was like, "Oh, that's adorable," and he's not going to fit in at all. So I'm so ready for that. But I don't think that they're going to send him down because
let's
of just
send the pure boy to a casino planet. What could possibly? It's like sending a priest to Vegas.
Nothing.
What could possibly go wrong? Carlos, thank you for the donation again. He asks, "Is a Sealer or Q return likely too confusing for new players, or is it too confusing for new viewers?" I don't know if it's likely. I mean, there's been rumors about it. You know, Ketwolski over here is very good with the old Q rumor. We've been for that one before. Yes. Is it too confusing for new viewers? I'd say not really. That doesn't really apply in this point. The way, Starship Picard is handling what we're going to call legacy characters is very delicately. Obviously, we've seen Hugh's turn in episode 3, sorry. He wasn't in this episode, which is slightly annoying. His return is handled fine, but I don't think he was actually... Was he called by name in episode 3? I think he might have been at one point. Soji refers to him. Yes, she does. So yeah, I don't think it's...
she calls him Hugh.
When she's speaking to Rambo, isn't it? So I think it's not going to be too confusing for new viewers as long as they introduce it correctly. And so far, how they've handled Hugh and then how they've handled Data as well, it's not been too confusing. I think any new viewer would be able to grasp that. Obviously, then, if they want to go see more of that character, they can go and watch it. For Q to turn up, I think that would be a likely easy explanation. He's easy to explain, I think. He's just this, omnipotent being who occasionally pops in and says hello. Meanwhile, Sealer might be a little bit more difficult to explain for new viewers, but I don't think it'd be impossible to grasp at the same time. If that answers your question.
I would say I turned my microphone up because somebody made a comment saying that my microphone was low, so hopefully I'm louder. But I would say that Q would be a very easy addition. To a certain degree, there would be a little bit of hesitation on new viewers because in this secret hideout era of Star Trek, we haven't had any omnipotent beings show up, so it's going to be a little jarring for really brand new Star Trek fans, but I think they'll get over it and kind of embrace it. But for Sela, it might be a little bit too much baggage for them to just include Sela to be there. I think it might potentially derail a little bit of the plot unless, and this is kind of something that just kind of popped into my head, she's the person that's leading the Zat Vash, because that allows her to have a presence and a role in the show that extends beyond just here's Sela and she's this person with all this history, but it's like, oh yeah, she's the leader of the Zat Vash, and that gives her a separate identity on top of all of the other things that we as longtime fans know about. So I think that there's a good chance that they may go that route in order to introduce her as a character that has been a part of the story that we didn't know about kind of behind the scenes, but also for us legacy fans to be excited to see. That's how I think that if they do it, I think that's how they'll.
Oh, for sure. Just quick before I answer that question of yours as well there. Sean, thank you for the donation. I think Eleanor designed to be like Spock, Data is absolute candor being the lens through which we examine humanity. It's a very good point. The absolute honesty in a way. I think that's going to play in very well here. There's a scene from one of the character build things as well of where I think Eleanor says, I sense there's some sort of emotional tension between Jurati and Rios, and it makes the whole thing awkward. And that's kind of like his specialty, and that's what we've spoken about. Chase, thank you for your donation. Last one, do you think Q will appear this season? I know Nick thinks he will. I think some of us think he will as well, just from behind-the-scenes images, which magically found their way on the internet, as you will say. So maybe. And Tiberius Kirk, thank you for your donation as well. And Kirsty Riker and Troy, I think they might actually be the longest-lasting couple in Star Trek. Don't jinx it. Let's touch wood. Hopefully they are. They're appearing in episode 6. Marina did confirm at a recent convention her and Jonathan will appear in episode 6. So only one more episode to go, and we'll be seeing the Rikers. Whether they'll be introduced in a little tease at the end of episode 5 is kind of unknown. Seems like the episodes have a kind of a habit at a minute of dropping the next character at the end of the episode and then introducing them a flashback. Could be a good idea on how to do it. We'll have to wait and see. It would be very nice if they did. So, we'll see if that one is out there. To answer your question on Sela, by the way, I definitely agree. And I think it kind of relates back to what the series producers and designers said. They're only bringing back legacy Trek characters if they suit the story. as you mentioned, Sela was involved in Romulan operations and shady stuff, just like any good Romulan is. However, I'm not sure whether she currently fits the story myself. You could probably warp it to where she may be, behind Romulan rebirth movement or stuff like that. Maybe she's a head of state. That does something that happened in like Memory Beta lore and Star Trek Online. She rose to become Empress, and incidentally was involved in causing the supernova. Long story. So yeah, it's
Beta canon. Woo!
So there's space for her to be included there, but it depends how far we wanted to go. There was rumours about Denise Crosby coming back as Sela, but we'll take it with a pinch of salt. I think it's more likely we'll see Q rather than Sela for the minute, but I'll happily be wrong, as I think having Denise Crosby back would be great.
I'm going to have to step away for 10 seconds and grab a charger. My laptop's going to die otherwise.
That's perfectly fine. Let's read some quick chat comments in a minute. Riker and Troy have both played in between. Let's see. Will we find if Beverly Crusher becomes Beverly Picard? Unsure about that, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of discussion about Beverly Crusher and Picard, whereas Picard needs Bev. I see a lot of people chanting that hashtag on Twitter. So it's I'd like to see Gates McFadden return as Beverly, but I don't think it's going to happen in season 1. Maybe season 2.
Yeah, I think if anything, they're going to probably do, I would say, either a kind of a flashback sequence or some kind of tie-in in the second season. But I think that they're going to have to address it at some point. How they're going to do that, I'm not quite sure just yet. But I think they're going to do it at some point. So
it'll be interesting to see. Amir, thank you for a quick donation again. Thanks everyone sending in a donation tonight. It's really helpful. Amir says, here you go, Brie. What if the Simps on Mars were modelled after lore, which was a mistake? Soji and Daj from Data. There you go. That's an interesting one. So, Brie, about your lore question there. Amir says, what if the Simps on Mars were modelled after lore, which was a mistake, causing them to go rogue, and then Soji and Daj from Data. Also, you are muted, by the way.
Oh, Brie, you're muted.
We can't hear you.
You can hear us.
Dang it! See, I even said something about how great the mic was, because I would notice if I wasn't muted, and it's still not. Anyway. Oh, sorry. No, I would absolutely be on board with that. 100%. I think that is a great... Because, like I said, I wouldn't want to see him be the parents of the twins, but I could definitely see him being the androids that attacked Mars being modeled after lore. Given one, they went completely crazy, and two, I don't know. The Soji and Daj just had. I don't know. I can't see them being related to someone as evil as lore. I just can't. But again, if it shows up, it shows up, and I won't be upset. I'm sure I'll love it. But I do like the idea of lore being the basis of the ones that attacked Mars, and then correctly making, or it could have even been before, making the twins.
There's definitely a deeper mystery going. It just reminded me, actually. Picard mentions in episode 1, in like the opening 15 minutes, the Federation and mainly Picard still don't know why the synthetics went rogue and did what they did, i.e. destroying Utopia Planitia and basically train wrecking the whole Romulan relocation mission. Then we do learn in episode 2 and 3 there were inside elements of the Federation not wanting to do the relocation mission, as echoing the Undiscovered Country there, that fantastic movie, my favorite. So there's a bigger mystery going on here. Whether we'll learn more about it in episode 5, and I think we can start leaning into a bit of speculation in episode 5 here, because as in episode 5, for those who've seen the teaser so far, minor spoilers, it's implied Bruce Maddox is there. We kind of see him in the trailer. It's implied that's him, so I think we can take it as a bit concrete that it is him. So whether that's revealed, why the synthetics went rogue, it's definitely a question we've had since episode 1, so it'd be nice to get an answer to that. And we see in one of the flashbacks, they appear to be somewhat hacked or overridden, or a bit of rogue code takes place, and then they go berserk and shoot up the shop. So it's something's definitely going on here. We need the answer. Whether we'll get it halfway through the series, or it's going to be one of those answers we finally get, like a big conclusion, I don't know. But it's a very good idea that lore will use the template for them. Then someone could switch on his whatever feature of lore made him go and be a bit of an asshole, should we say, for lack of a word. So it's definitely something going on there.
For sure, agreed. Yeah, I'm excited to see what the turnout is for what happened with the A500 synthetics and why they went rogue and how that all went down. But I wanted to ask you guys, what did you guys think of the expansion of what is going on with these Romulan colonies? We got introduced to these warlords, we got introduced to this segregation subplot of Romulans only, which I don't know, was definitely intended to be a kind of a social commentary piece. It kind of fell slightly flat for me, and the only reason I say that, and I say slightly flat, is just because even in the flashback sequence at the beginning of the episode, I didn't see any other humans running around. So why they put up a Romulans only sign at the bar was kind of strange, because it wasn't like there was a bunch of other people there that would need to be segregated against. But I did like the fact that they attempted to do that and kind of explore this whole there's crime and all this other stuff going on. But what did you guys think about that?
I can kind of agree with you a little bit. But at the same time, the way I was looking at it when I was watching that is, I feel like, one, it is definitely a political commentary, but two, it's almost inherent that a relocation effort like that is going to cause absolute strife in the community.
Not absolute
even in
Yes,
absolute strife and absolute candor. But I do. I mean, even now we see it. Relocation of an entire people causes a lot of issues within that community, and so I definitely don't. I don't think it fell flat for me. I think if it did, it was not in the same way. I don't know. I liked it, but I can kind of I agree it could have been stronger, but how, I personally don't know.
Yeah, the Romulans Conley thing is, I mean, someone else actually asked a great question on that topic as well. What happened to the Remans? Because they were a big presence in Nemesis. It's kind of focused around them and their sort of like uprising. I think my sort of like personal headcanon for the Remans, and you guys might agree or disagree, is that they're kind of gone in a way, because obviously their planet would have been destroyed along with Romulus. I imagine after the whole Shinzon uprising, Romulus probably wouldn't have been too pleased with the Remans in hindsight after the assassination of their own senate. So I imagine maybe the Remans have quietly disappeared into the corners of the galaxy, and that's how things have ended there. I think that could be maybe a personal answer for that one. We don't know. We've not seen any Remans. I don't think we are going to see any in this series. It's very heavily focused on the Romulans. And I think for the average viewer, it could be confusing if they suddenly introduce a Remans like, oh yes, they're a slave species of Romulans, and it wouldn't make sense either. Romulans aren't in a position to have slaves at the minute anyway, or the whole idea is the series showing the Romulans don't have the jurisdictional power they used to be able to hold, and that is a great question and discussion point going around at the moment, is, you know, the loss of Romulan power, how this great star empire managed to go from being a star empire to basically being refugees. And it's kind of explained through the series, but maybe people aren't picking it up, or it's not explained strong enough as it probably should be. The idea is this Romulan star empire was shattered through a supernova at the core of their own homeworld, destroying their capital planet, and then it's all fallen apart from there in the midst of a rescue operation by Starfleet, which, you know, replay, or like, is it displaced? I guess, okay, displaced part of their population to other colonies, which aren't technically under their control. So if anything, their people are scattered, their resources are gone, their government's destroyed practically. That's how the Romulans or organizations fell. How they still keep hold of their space is a great question. We see it on the map. They've got a space there, but yeah. Anyway, guys, why don't we chat a little bit about episode 5 for a moment? You know, we're doing a bit of speculation on that. A great topic is the casino planet. This seems like one of those cool episodes. Let's talk quickly about the teaser as well. I love the little teaser we got from a Ready Room as well this week, which was the pop-up adverts on board the ships and stuff. It's like, even in the 24th century, we cannot escape pop-up adverts. God
That's right.
damn it,
Yeah,
where's Adblock?
You'll never be free.
Can I install Adblock on my Federation Starship? Is that what I have to do now? Do Federation Starships come equipped with Adblock? Because we know Rios' ship is an independent one, so I'm guessing Federation ships have Adblock on still. You know, just to...
they upgraded their McAfee antivirus software for the Federation Starships. So his Rios is is out of date. He's got it turned off for whatever reason.
He's on the.
I loved it. I thought it was cool. Yeah, he's using AVG free.
As Brie mentioned earlier, I loved Eleanor's little thing of, why didn't I get one? It just felt like so childlike in a way. But someone was like, I think was discussing it. It's based off like people's search history, because we see each little hologram or like advert, I guess we could call them, is relevant to each person. So we see, like in Rafi's case, it's advertising snakebite, which is that drug she's somewhat addicted to. Then also Rios is advertising mechanic for the ship, which is kind of odd because it's say again.
I was going to say, I'm curious then about Dr. Jurati's.
Yeah, it's like, why was she...
What is her search history to bring up a robot, a fighting robot?
And I've noticed Picard gets a nice hotel one where they're offering like tea. I'm like, that's just hilarious. I love that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about I like how they took the concept of ads targeting the user based off of their search history, because obviously that's the thing that exists now. And I like how they expanded on that and made it for the future, where it's like this pop-up 3D ad of things that you kind of may or may not want based off of who you are in your search stuff. I thought that was a cool idea, and I can't wait to see that in the episode and maybe see it more when they're on casino planet. I'm very excited for this episode. I feel like this is going to be a super fun episode.
My only
It's going to be
qualm
so fun.
with the adverts thing is it appearing on the bridge of a ship is a bit weird, if you ask me. Like, surely, as we discussed there, maybe a joke about Adblock, surely a bridge of a starship would have security procedures to stop automatic things popping up on displays. Like, if it was down when it just beamed down and suddenly they was bombarded with adverts, that'd make more logical sense.
Well, it might be it has to do with, like, proximity to the planet. Like, once you're in orbit of the planet, like, then they will start popping up. That way, you know, you're not like flying or driving or whatever, and stuff's popping up in your face, and you're like, distractions. Maybe it's like based off of once you start orbiting the planet, you'll start getting these ads.
That was quite cool. Right. Let's talk about the outfits as well, as that's like a current discussion going on. A lot of people call him Rios a pimp now, and Picard and his eye patch.
People are going to be so mad, and I'm so for it.
It really reminds me of the days...
I'm so ready for it.
It reminds me of the days they dressed up to go into the holodeck, you know, like Picard donning with Dixon Hill hat and going in there. Yes. And then we had them in the Enterprise uniforms at one point for the HMS Enterprise. It's like one of those days of them stepping back into this environment. I want to know why they need to dress up, because obviously... in this day and age, you could beam down and everything, and, you know, still Starfleet space pajamas would probably fit in on a casino planet. So there must be some reason, maybe something to blend into a certain environment, because obviously they're definitely going after Maddox, is what we know. He's on Free Cloud. They're going to extract him in some way. Seven is going to help some way. Finally, we're going to get that scene of Seven or Jerry Ryan dual-wielding phase rifles or disruptors and blowing the whole place up. I have been waiting for that for about 8 months now. Thank you, Amazon and CBS. Finally. Get the hell out of here.
Maybe in the future, everyone just peacocks at casinos and casino planets. I don't know, and that would, you know. But I don't know. I mean, that's the only thing. Well, that's kind of what I was thinking. Is like, you know, if it's some really, like, even a Risa, you know, like the episode in Deep Space Nine where Worf goes down in his uniform, everyone calls him out for it. They're like, why are you, like, Jadzia's like, why are you in your uniform? You should be wearing something that's more fitting for the area. So, like, they definitely have hit on that before. And that's why I don't, and plus I want to see Pimp Pirate Picard so badly. I don't care in what situation. It's going to be funny. I'm excited. But no, I do think it's going to be a little bit more fitting once we learn, like, what the planet's more like. I think we'll be like, because we saw like angel wing, like holographic angel wings, and people are wearing some wild stuff. So that's why I was like, maybe everyone's just peacocking.
I think you're right. I think the fact that if they don't dress up, then that'll make them stand out, like sort of like you said with the Risa thing, where if you're not, you know, beaming down wearing a bathing suit or weird space shirts that leaves your entire chest exposed, I think that makes you.
Are you even
out.
on Risa?
Right, exactly. So I think that's probably why they're doing that. Maybe that's like part of the selling point of this planet is it's like you have to dress up and make it like this over the top outfit. Otherwise, you look ridiculous.
You look out of place, if you're not dressed up.
Right. I think that's probably what it's going to be. And I'm pumped. I can't wait to see it.
I am too.
Definitely. It's going to be a very good episode. So for those wondering, episode 5 does out at the usual time, Thursday on CBS All Access, CTV Sci-Fi, and then Friday on Amazon Prime Video. We're going to start wrapping the stream up a little bit earlier today, just because a few of us have to pop out. Happy to answer a few of your questions. Thank you for the donations tonight, by the way. So yeah, episode 5, it's going to be very interesting. Before we do end off, 7 of 9. What do you think the flashback's going to be about? Do you think it's going to be about 7 of 9 at the start of the episode, or some way relating to her? I think it might be. Or is it going to be Maddox? I don't know. The flashback. That's going to be our ending topic for today. What do you think it's going to be about?
I think we're going to get surprised by the flashback, because every time we try and predict a flashback, it's never exact. It's never, ever, ever what we think the flashback's going to be.
Yes.
So I think the flashback's going to be more... the first one was a dream. The second one was Mars. The third one was on Earth. And then this one was the relocation. So... maybe it might have to do with the planet or with Maddox is the only things I can think. That would, like, maybe how Maddox got there, or I think maybe it's going to be some kind of, it's not going to be directly related to the bridge crew. Is the only thing I can think.
Yeah, that could be an interesting one.
To maybe throw us off a little.
I would say that it could go either way. I think that whether it's Seven or Maddox, that either one of those flashbacks will have to center around where they were or what they were doing during the attack on Mars. I think all of the flashbacks, for the most part, have been somewhat connected to the synthetic attack on Mars, and I think that it'll play in there. I think that they may do Maddox, and the only reason I say that this time is to set up who that is in some regards. Maybe show him working with Dr. Jurati at the Daystrom Institute.
That's a good one.
Build that up a little bit to kind of so that way when they find him, people are kind of like, oh, that's who that is, and I kind of understand who that is now without having to really trying to reach back a couple of episodes to conceptualize what that was and who they were talking about and stuff. So that's my theory. I think it'll be Maddox.
I think you're correct, Brett, to be honest.
That's what I think.
A lot of people, the casual viewer at the end of the day, new viewers may not know who Maddox is. Obviously, he's kind of implied or introduced. However, although he's only ever appeared in one episode, he's got quite a lot of detail about him because that entire episode focused around him, and we still heard references to him as the series went on in a couple of episodes. So it's like, something's definitely going on there. And obviously, he's in the book as well, The Last Best Hope by Ona McCormack. Give it a read, by the way, for everyone. So yeah, I think Flashback could be him. It's either him or Seven, in my opinion. I would love it to be on Seven personally, as I need more Seven of 9 in my life, as everyone should do.
I do too. I think we all do.
But I think episode 5 is going to be a very interesting one for sure. Obviously, it'll be halfway through the series. Picard is only 10 episodes, so this week coming is going to be halfway through the series. Hopefully, we're going to start. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting place to put the series on, but hopefully, we're going to get a nice, almost platform for how we're going to continue on. I'd love to see like a mid-season trailer for Picard as well. I don't think we'll get one, but it would be quite good either way. Because, a lot of the trailers, I rewatched one of the trailers today as I was writing a video on 7 for this week, and it's the trailer contents is only of like part 1 so far, like up to the 5 episodes. Only a couple of the scenes relate to like episode 6 and what I could probably prefer as 7. So they're keeping the end of Picard very secretive, as they should. We don't not want that spoiled or anything. So it's, I don't know. Anyway, chaps, we're probably going to
end. Well, they still haven't shown...
No, after you.
Oh, I was gonna say they still haven't shown them in all the the civilian gear on some what was like a desert-ish planet. They were all grouped up. We still haven't seen that.
Yeah, you just reminded me actually.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be the Romulan. When they actually go to get Eleanor, that might be a good idea. But now I've completely forgotten that theory. You're right there. That's to think about that one actually. Yeah.
And the mind meld, we still haven't seen that, even though we know it's going to happen, and that's what gave away the whole Dr. Jurati might be a sleeper agent.
Unless that's a flashback scene in itself.
Well, I think it is going to be a flashback scene, but I think it's going to be a flashback scene that has to do with why she did something that's out of character for her, i.e. she got sleeper agented.
The episode setup flashback, it'll be a separate flashback. Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah. That is one way to look at it. Okay. All right, everyone. We're going to wrap up today's stream today, as a few of us have jet a little bit early. However, we'll be back next week at 9 p.m. GMT every Sunday discussing the latest episode of Star Trek Picard. Episode 5 is called Stardust City Rag. It also is airing on Thursdays and Fridays. It's going to be a really cool one. I have a feeling cosplayers of the Star Trek community are really going to enjoy this episode, as there is a lot more to do. Maybe Brie will be cosplaying, I don't know, a Picard pirate one. Star Trek Las Vegas.
I will find something, don't worry.
In the meantime, thank you very much for watching the stream tonight. I was joined by Ketwolski and Brie. I was going to say gentleman now, and I've been highly incorrect. People, thanks for joining me. We're all gentlemen here tonight. Thanks for joining me. Obviously, we'll be back next week. Thanks everyone for donations tonight. Greatly appreciated. We've got some stellar videos coming this week, including the Last Best Hope review, a video about a certain Enterprise captain, and of course some more news on 7 of 9, which I'm delighted to talk about. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be very fun. Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you want to stick around and continue the discussion, you can follow us on social media or join our brand new community Discord server. It's kind of like a chat place where you can come in, chat together, share pictures and such. The link's down below. Come join. It'd be great to have you all. For now, I've been Captain Jack, joined by Brie and Ketwolski. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.